Good morning, good morning, good morning, Dove Nation. How you doing? Grand Bahama, how you feeling? How you feeling? It's so good to be back. It's always a pleasure to come back in here, Dre. It's always a pleasure. Thank you so much for our listening audience, those of you tuned in with us across the airways, tuned in on social media. We thank you for tuning into another episode of Make It Make Sense. You know, we want to thank our sponsors for keeping us on the air, Island A to Z, Leslie Trades, Bethel Superstore. Thank you guys so much. We appreciate you. Thank you for keeping us on the air. And again, thank you to everybody tuning in. I think, well, even before that, today is local government elections. Go out, vote. It's your democratic right. Vote for the candidate of your choosing. Go out, and vote. Today we have an interesting show today. I am super excited about it. I always love to talk about Grand Bahama. I get super passionate when we talk about Grand Bahama. So whatever I say today, I'm sorry for it. Forgive me in advance. I say what I say, mean what I say, and that's just what it is. I have a special guest in studio today. I have with me C. Alan Johnson. I like to call him the critical thinker. He thinks about things from the opposite end of the spectrum and, makes it make sense. Yeah. So I want to welcome him here today. I'm happy to have him. And I think we're going to have a great conversation today. So we'll be talking everything Grand Bahama. The Grand Bahama yesterday, the Grand Bahama today, and what Grand Bahama is tomorrow. So we're going to take it back, bring it forward, talk about the present, talk about the past, and then talk about what it is supposed to be. So Siano, welcome to the show.
Yeah, thank you, man. I've been listening to Darren, now I've been listening to you, and I said, okay, now they finally got me on, so we're gonna have some conversation. Maybe, I hope this is not my last, because we have a lot of information, and just for people to know, I'm C. Alan Johnson. I'm a technology consultant and futurist. I've been involved with technology for 46 plus years. Yes, I'm 45.
45. So you are from year one
before birth. But since I left high school in the U.S., I went to work for IBM. I worked with the incarnation of what you now call the internet, that was released on January 1st of 1983. What we also have done is I've also been involved from the World Wide Web, Wi-Fi in the late 90s. There's no technology exists today. The world is excited about AI. I've been doing AI for 30 years. You can go to my social media pages, go back to 2012, 2010, 2011, 2009, and see where I've been telling people prepare for a new incarnation of the world as we know it by 2025.
Well, I think, with that being said, I think you're the perfect person then to talk to today, because when we talk about what Grand Bahama was and talk about where it's going, we can merge the two. And I want us to jump right into it, right? And again, whatever I say today, I stand by it. Forgive me in advance, and if you don't, then, I still love you. But I want us to talk specifically on Grand Bahama, right? So I could remember about 2 years ago, I think, it was almost 2 years ago. I think it was January, around the same time the Prime Minister came down and he met with the Minister of Grand Bahama, right? He told her in this interview, afterwards, we all saw it. He told her in this interview, he said he is tired of people talking about what Grand Bahama could be and what it should be, and he is going to be that person to now bring action. He said he's tired of the words, he's tired of hearing about it, he's tired about people talking about the potential, but he is going to be that one to actually bring, we can see some tangible things in a nutshell. So I want to get right in and I want to ask you, from that statement to now, 2024, can you say that you have seen some things happen differently in Grand Bahama? And if you have, what are those things and what are your views about that statement? Do you feel he kept his word, or do you feel it was just another?
I go back to the actual blueprint for change. Mm-hmm. That's where the promises was actually made for Grand Bahama.
Right.
But when we look at Grand Bahama, nothing. See, I know we get excited about the $2 billion worth of investments that is now beginning to materialize. Right. But many of these things has been in the pipeline for almost a decade. Right. Some of them has been exasperated as the wait and now is done, like the the shipyard and others, we have to be thankful that it's a part of a rebuilding process.
Yeah.
But when you look at Grand Bahama, let's put a perspective of what it is. And I don't, first let me say, I'm still waiting for the Prime Minister to begin the process of what he has promised going back to 2021.
Right.
But let's look at Grand Bahama in this perspective.
Mm-hmm.
I have for 2 decades, and people have heard me at almost every town meeting say that the Bahamas is the most digitally prepared country in the world. In December of 2020 or 2019, the National Guardian carried an article rating us as number 2, and that's very important. The reason we were rated number 2 is because they didn't take all the things in that's relative, such as our geolocation and everything else. It's important for us to understand that digitally prepared and digitally utilized is 2 different things.
Right.
We have been prepared. So if you take the Bahamas, is the most digitally prepared country in the world, out of 203 countries or whatever the amount there is. If you take Grand Bahama and treated it as a country, the Bahamas will be number 1 and Grand Bahama will be number 2. As a country, as preparedness for utilization.
Right.
The fact is that we are now 24 years of January 1st into the 21st century, and we have yet to embrace the potential of what Grand Bahama can be. That started, the real potential of that started, believe it or not, in Trump 1.0. When he accelerated, a lot of people may not realize that Trump is the one who accelerated the AI fight by backing it. He accelerated what is called a digital, technological, AI, big data, quantum global fight for supremacy. That's what he started.
Right.
Biden then kind of coaxed through it in the last couple of weeks. They tried to move some policies to put in place for it.
Okay.
But we have to understand that Donald Trump is now coming back to re-engage, and you saw those individuals around him, that he is now, how you see the tech titans and the CEOs and everything around him, all engaged to begin, let me repeat it again, digital, big data or data, technological, artificial intelligence, and quantum computing fight for global supremacy. This, the world as you know it, will never be the same. We are now in the first convergence revolution, second digital revolution, third technological revolution, fourth industrial revolution, fifth social revolution, and sixth extinction revolution. Never in our existence on earth has 3 of these revolution types has ever aligned. We have all 6 aligning at the same time. The world we know today, our children will not recognize it in about 10 years. Wow. And we have to, everything has changed. And so Grand Bahama has been the staple of that is, and you know, I hear people say Grand Bahama is an industrial city. Anyone who says Grand Bahama is an industrial city don't know the history of Grand Bahama. We've had about a dozen hotels here. Grand Bahama was a nightlife. It was the magic city that didn't come from industry. That comes from the multiple hotels and things that's here, and even all the way down in West End. And so if you look at the Hawkesbury Creek Agreement, it mentions hospitality and tourism as one of the pillars for what was expected to happen with Grand Bahama. And so the problem is that we've had leadership at least for 25 years that is being blind in one eye and can't see out the next as to the potential of what Grand Bahama is. People have came and they have talked about harvested ideas, and I call those people, what they do is they pirate, like steal an idea, and they pirate it, repeat it.
So see, let me ask you something, because I think I'm one of those people, right? I feel like at the inception of the Oxford Creek Agreement, Grand Bahama kind of, you know, was set up here as an industrial center, right?
No, that's what I'm saying. It wasn't.
So I want to go back there just
industry
for a
was
quick
one
second.
of, no, industry was one of, that's what I'm saying. Industry was one of the major pillars. It
Right.
wasn't an exclusive pillar. Hospitality was part of that pillar.
So, and it brings me to this question, right? Because I guess I'm one of those who feel like at the inception, the goal was for Grand Bahama to be this industrial center, right?
Right.
And I feel like from the industries that it brought, let's say, okay, the Deepwater Harbor was one of the inception projects, right?
Yes.
So that project brought people from all around the world to work at that project. They wanted to bring their families, so they needed schools, they needed churches, they needed different fast food places to eat from. So it kind of was a trickle effect. So I kind of feel like I'm one of those people who, believe in the industrial hub idea of Freeport. So I want to ask you, do you feel like right now in Grand Bahama, are we focusing on the wrong industry? Are we beating a dead horse? We're trying to pump into tourism and it's not working? Or do you feel we're just maybe looking at it through the wrong lens? What's your thoughts on that?
We're looking at it, see, what happens is we're looking at Grand Bahama from a singular mindset. First of all, industries have changed,
right,
but the industries on Grand Bahama have not changed.
Gotcha.
Technology, innovation has brought those to, we're still using things, the old methods. The question is, what industries have we really bought? The industries that was here, like Syntex, Bacardi's, and these different things, they had manufacturing facilities,
right,
but we have not embraced industry.
Right.
Not these, like necessarily these big plants, like we say, the shipyard, the container port,
right,
and these things. That industry involves a whole lot of things.
True.
That some smaller things in development and innovation. But the problem is that we have not had leadership, and respectfully I can say in government and more so in the Grand Bahama Port Authority, that has pushed Freeport to where it needs to be, for which Grand Bahama depends on. I don't want to blend the current fight with the government, and I would go back to say yes, there has been some shifting of the, like you say, some modification of the purity of the Hawkesbury Creek Agreement going back to 1967,
right,
more so with the bend or break speech, etc., what went on. But it has not taken away the strength of the Hawkesbury Creek Agreement,
sure,
if you see it through a 21st century eye. And so there's some minor things that we have to do. The minor adjustments, and people will say, oh, we need the critical mass in Grand Bahama from foreigners. So that is not something that has to be fixed for the Hawkesbury Creek Agreement. The critical mass, to grow economy of scales, has to be fixed for the Bahamas.
True.
Because, yes, Freeport was designed for 250,000 people. If you look at the vertical, it's, could say 500,000. But even then, technology is advanced right now with some minor infrastructure for sewer system, water capacity, and energy capacity. We could become like Singapore. Now let's take Singapore as an example. Freeport is 230 square miles. Not Grand Bahama. Grand Bahama is about 530 square miles. Freeport. Singapore is 260 square miles. Is either Singapore is 30 square miles smaller than Freeport or 30 square miles larger than Freeport? I don't know my minds right now. But just put it, Freeport and Singapore is the same size.
Gotcha.
For all intent and purposes. And we always use Singapore as an example. So if Singapore could hold a few million people from vertical building and putting in the infrastructure, what can Freeport hold?
Right.
And so we have to look at that. But when you look at the hospitality industry has shifted across the Bahamas, and even so in Freeport, and we never adopted. Do you know bed and breakfast was an original Bahamian concept called people to people?
Oh, wow. Didn't know that.
Right. And so the question is, we kept trying to do the same thing and never innovating. See, now, we hear politicians, people use both innovative and all these things. The question is, there is no innovation without one word before it. Innovation is born out of creativity. And so if you copy what somebody else has done, that's not innovation, that's copying.
Right.
Okay? And so there has been no innovation. There's been no state-of-the-art in the Bahamas. In Marshall Grand Bahama. There's been talk about it. So what happens is you have blind giants being ruled by one-eyed midgets. And so I use the time, and so the problem is that if you want to use another analogy, we've had leadership that in a sense you could call them mosquitoes. And they enter the room and everybody started doing like this, and they go, ooh, they're clapping for me. And so, but the potential is there. And so when you look at the new incarnation of, say, the bed and breakfast, and this is something you and I have talked about over the weeks concerning how do we redefine what Grand Bahama is? How do we reimagine Grand Bahama? And the problem is that it requires participation of the people. 5 or 10 individuals from Grand Bahama cannot match the intellectual capacity of all of Grand Bahama. Some of us could never be intellectually superior to all of us. And so we have been waiting for people, and we know these people. It isn't that they have failed us on purpose. Their ambition to serve just was greater than their ability to serve. And so, so the problem is that we have people, we could meet them and sit with them and Burger King with us, and then we give them a title. And title doesn't add incompetence or even remove ability. So if you have a title, then the question is, were you competent before I gave you the title? So you could be idiot and then you become honorable idiot. So what we have to do is this. We have to decide what we want. No one, let me say this with Grand Bahama, no one is coming to save us. Not the FNM, not the PLP, and definitely not the COI. Okay? So, and they've mastered parodying and parroting. So what has happened then is that means that we must save ourselves. We must define who we are, and we must define what Grand Bahama is to be. We have had people talk about the aquamarine economy, and they've talked about the aquamarine economy even in the House of Assembly during the last 2 budget debates. But the aquamarine economy is a global concept that was developed by 2 behemoths. Let me tell you what it is, and then I'll tell you what the 2 behemoths are. The aquamarine economy is an amalgamation of the carbon economy, the blue economy, the orange economy, the ocean economy, the green economy, and the climate economy, AI, and big data as one economy model. The 2 individuals that did the white paper for the establishment and global acceptance of the aquamarine economy is myself and my wife, Eden Mary Johnson. Most people remember her as Eden Mary Gator, the former singer that used to sing and sells DVDs and CDs. Sure. And we designed this economy models over 4 to 5 years. The Progressive Liberal Party made mention of it during the last year budget debate, or it was the year before. So, but we hear people talk about this orange economy on Grand Bahama. We hear people talk about the tokenization economy. There's 30 different economic models that's been mentioned that's possible for Grand Bahama. Every single one of them is possible if you could explain what each is. The orange economy, a lot of people who speak about the orange economy think it's about Junkanoo and these other different things. Yes, it covers culture and it covers heritage. Sure. But the creativity of it, which is technically what AI gives it a thing, there's so many different variations. And this is why you see a fight for these catalogs for singers. Because AI now is going to redefine what it is. But you have an artist here in the Bahamas, or you have a person that wants to do social media, or they want to do a design. You can take an artisan and give them a scrap of words and the proper tools, and they can make something unique. And that's part of the orange economy. And the thing about it is that we have to also begin to teach individuals how to enter these economic models that we talk about. And no one has ever, not a single policy paper exists for any one of the 30 different economic models. I'll look them up in a few minutes, but they tell you. But not a single one policy paper exists. So it says that you cannot manage what you cannot measure, but you cannot measure what you are incapable of acknowledging and recognizing. And that is where we are. And so our leaders' jobs is not to build for us, Their job is to go to Parliament, pass enabling legislation, embrace enabling policies, develop processes, program and procedures, not do things for us. Sure. And it's funny, like people say, government gonna build government homes. I would challenge anybody to show me one house built by government in the last 51 years. None has ever been built. they have allocated land and arranged for advanced funding to individuals. That's not government-built homes. We can have a talk about social housing or low-cost housing or affordable housing or attainable housing and how government fits into those. But let no one tell you the government has built any home. Government has never given anybody a home. Because government cuts a mortgage, it's the equivalent of me getting a mortgage at Royal Bank and they cutting a ribbon and bringing TVs to say they provided me with housing. Okay?
So, you know, I also want to bring this up, you know, because that was a lot of information, you know, it's just always good to know these things. But I want to talk about just piggybacking off of, you know, Grand Bahama and everything that individual Grand Bahamians feel. When I say that, you talked about the role of government, the role of different elected members, what they're supposed to do. And it's certain things that are needs and not wants that I feel that Grand Bahamians do not get, right? So, I want to ask you this. When it comes to the essential services needed for citizens to just thrive in an economy, when it comes to just the essential services that are needed, that are supposed to be provided by government, you know, all of the other things we talk about are after the essential services, but we are in a time right now where we are seeing the government isn't even providing or can't even provide the essential services for Grand Bahamians. When I say that, I mean this. We see incidents where when an emergency happens, the first responders are frustrated because how can you as a EMS operate without the actual ambulance? When we see instances like Grand Bahamians and fighting fires, we have seen in the past 3 weeks 3 different occasions where a lady had to fight, the family had to fight the fire themselves, burn down all of their produce and their livestock. We saw another incident where a house totally burned down and homes is rocked because there wasn't no fire truck. And then we're seeing now where we're breaking protocol, where the fire truck from the airport has to now, that isn't supposed to leave the airport, has to now go in between flights to try to go to assist because the firefighters have no trucks to use. We have 5 trucks, none are working. So my question is, how can we even begin to talk about empowering Bahamians in different ways when the government is showing no type of care to even provide just the bare minimum essentials?
Well, empowering Bahamians and the government ability to provide services are identical twins. In fact, we call it the twins, the conjoined twins. They're conjoined twins.
Right.
And what we've had over the last 25 years, and it's an economy that has grown from about 7 to 8 billion to about $16 billion when you measure all the true matrix. The problem is that the personal economy of Bahamians have not grown with it. Because we are using tools of the 19th century. I won't even say 20th century, because what we have is 20th century leaders using 19th century concepts, trying to govern a 21st century Bahamas.
Yep.
And so, and to give people a good example of that is, in the 21st century, if I want to, say, dig a hole, I'll get a laser. I could cut it into the ground. 21st century. In the 20th century, I'll get a tractor. Right. In the 19th century, I'll get a bunch of guys with shovels. And then I say I'm creating jobs. So the problem is that efficiency increases productivity. So here's what has happened. The government, because the personal economy of the average Bahamian has not grown, we massage figures. There's lies, the statistics, it's lies, damn lies, and statistics. And so we massage statistics. We say unemployment is down. Right. Why? Because we don't count individuals who are not looking for jobs in the last 6 months as unemployed. We don't count disenfranchised workers as unemployed. Wow. So if you have Grand Bahamians, if you have 10,000 Grand Bahamians who have given up looking for a job in the formal economy or whatever it is, then they've deducted those from the unemployment list, and they say, oh, look, the unemployment numbers have went down. Wow. But no one can show you the increase in jobs that has occurred to justify those numbers going down. So what happens then is that we have not had a model. So if government revenue comes from a percentage of the GDP that is taxed, and the GDP grows, but it grows in areas that is untaxable. Now, and you could use an example. Look, Daquan, you make $20,000. Government hits you. Let's pretend you paid 25 in tax, customs, duty for everything. They hit you for $5,000.
Right.
I make $250,000. You're spending 100% of your money. I'm going to spend, say I make $200,000. I'm going to spend $75,000 to live.
Right.
So government doesn't capture $125,000 in taxation on that, because it doesn't, because we have a taxation. We don't have a progressive taxation. We have a regressive taxation regime. It requires you to consume for government to get whatever resources, and so we don't profit unless consumption happens. So the problem is, if you haven't grown the individual or personal economies to the point to match the growth of the GDP, which is almost 50% or even almost 100% over the last 25 years, then how come the government tax revenue haven't grown 100%? And so, and because less people have money, inflation has also eaten up. You used to go to the store and spend $20 and got a certain amount of products. And so now you get less. So inflation has consumed the volume by which you consume. You begin to cut back and you begin to balance. So the only way for us to grow is to have the personal economies of families to grow. And nobody's brought that family. You have people from the Grand Bahama Port Authority to the government to the ministers tell you, prepare you for the opportunities. And I call them all the time and I say, can I get a list of the opportunities to become available? Investments are coming, prepare yourself. But you can't tell me what I'm preparing myself for. I can't create a plan, a strategy, or anything for that which I don't know. You know, unless you simply want me to embrace a JOBS sector. Excuse me, I know Dove is a place, but this is the banana plant. JOBS stands for Just Over Broke Suckers in a Just Over Broke system. We have to eliminate that. We have to move, as you and I have talked about, to creating an inclusive opportunity and ownership economy.
Right.
The tools that you hear them talk about, fintech in the Bahamas and all these different things, and crypto economy and everything, those tools exist today. Our Prime Minister has for at least 2 years been talking about tearing down imaginary walls that exist in the minds of a 20th century thinker. So when you say we need to introduce competition to who? The global economy? So the problem is Bahamians are not in a position to shop globally. So you can only create a subsector of consumerism, which is ultra-virus what the government wants. If the government is taxing $12 billion and government is saying, we're going to find a way for you to import our things for $8,000, that means the government would lose 25% of its revenue at the same time. So the government cannot create an environment for which it diminishes the revenue it depends on.
Wow.
So we have to be careful of the talk. And so what happens is we are good, our leadership is good as promoting hope as the new dope. and essentially what they do, you know, a man drowning, you can stand there right on the shore and just throw him some straw. He grabs it. And you say, I'm helping, you throw him another straw. So we have to look at what is necessary for the economy and embracing these things like fintech. Like he says he wants competition. Well, Amazon shows us there's a potential for competition because you have the chain and other people saying that they must be adjusted. Because you can, and Amazon is not going to be the only one. Right. The problem also is that with all respect, our importers, and I hope you still sponsor the show, but our importers have become parasites of a broken system. And so, and we haven't sat down and taught a new generation of thinkers to innovate, to compete with Amazon or to exploit Amazon. Because I can now go to Amazon and find products that we consume in the Bahamas. Buy it from the wholesalers. Calculate using AI, whatever you want, what it's going to cost, including the delivery cost of the Bahamas, directly from Amazon, and compete with every store downtown. Wow. And so, because when you calculate it, I could put the dress for $5, shoes for $10 less, whatever, and you could, because we don't produce anything here. So everything we have comes from the US, 85% or more. So by utilizing a skill set of the technology that's available, you could create a virtual store and have it delivered in a matter of days by just taking all of these goods that you see in the store and just putting pictures. Remember, you don't have to have them. Putting pictures on your Amazon site. Yep. People order it. Like right. Now you're getting money selling products that you don't own from people that you don't know to make money that you don't have. And so, but understand this, we can not only do this, Amazon is not stopping in the Bahamas. Amazon has a Caribbean-focused behavior. And in fact, Amazon knows how we act and think virtual Google. And let me give a shout out to my niece. And if you go to code.org for Amazon, my twin brother, daughter, is one of the primary AI programmers for coding. All of our children directly or indirectly is involved with technology because that's what they know. They had computers since 1985. Right. And so what happens then is that we have other behemoths in the diaspora that has the technological things needed for the growth of our economy, but no one speaks their language. And so, you go to a guy and he speaks fluent Spanish, right? And you go there, and right? And he's just looking at you and you're saying, and I want you to come home, whatever. And you go, what you're saying is not Spanish. And so he knows you're BSing him. Right. So he's not going to make any effort. You have to create the environment that becomes the attraction to them. And this is the same thing for technology, the same thing Donald Trump is doing. If Grand Bahama is the ideal place for the technological revolution, where the entire Caribbean or this region needs a near-shore environment for data access, for storing data, and for data sovereignty and data privacy that you may not necessarily get in the US. The Bahamas can pass certain laws that makes the Bahamas attractive. In fact, forget me building the thing. If there's a few billion people on the internet, I would pass a law like Estonia do to make people around the world digital citizens, and my data protection law will protect the data of digital citizens. What if I tell you, you're living around the world and say all these people who've been making billions and trillions of your data, you could now protect it and participate in the monetization of it by simply paying me $12 a year. Which $1 billion people paying $1 a year to the Bahamas government?
Whew, plenty money. But so, see, Alan, that brings me here, right? I am all for innovation. I am all for those type of ideas. I'm all about that, right? But how do you merge that with individuals like yourself who has ideas like that, right? Because let me say this. We have been operating in a space now with successive administrations where we have elected officials based off of popularity and not what they know, what their mindset is, what business they've conducted, what causes they have fight, what things have they have done on a global scale. We have individuals right now who are leading us in this 21st century who don't even know what ChatGPT is. So how can an individual who don't even know what the basics, like ChatGPT, how can we have individuals going off, fighting on our behalf, fighting our cause, bringing investors here, bringing ideas like that, bringing the digital economy here? How can those people go off and have those type of conversations, entertain that type of lingo, when they don't even know how to turn a computer on?
Well, and you're correct in the turn the computer on. If you go to government offices, you can still see some of the beige computers from the 80s and 90s.
With the big box.
With the CRTs, yeah. So, but here's what happens. Let's assume that government has the $70 million worth of consultants. I would assume that a consultant, if someone was to come to me now for advice, a business, right, I don't have to do it. I have to know who can do it for me.
Right.
And that's what leadership is. Do you honestly believe that Bezos and Zuckerberg and
Musk
and all of them are in there physically doing the work?
No.
They know how to assemble a competent team of individuals who can accomplish a more competent team that brings together that works in harmony for the development.
Wow.
But we want leadership that believes that a doom descends upon them and they become all-knowing because they are given a ministry. And the ministry itself is liturgic because that itself has been caught in the 19th century.
Right.
And you have government now celebrating, normalizing individuals who's been on the 52-week program for 10
Wow.
years.
Wow.
Hundreds of individuals.
Wow.
But see, when government, we have a political economy because government is the major employer. We have about 30 to 40,000 people when you add up everybody that works for government and all state-owned enterprises, etc. You can't. That's a cannibalistic. That's a cancer. If you imagine somebody minimum wage for 10 years in the government structure, you're telling me that you couldn't create an economy for them to go and get a $300 an hour job they would have left that for because they don't get the benefits. They didn't get the benefits.
Nope, no benefits.
So why did they sit there? Because you didn't create an alternative for them to go someplace else.
Wow.
And the skill sets that we exist today, that if you go now, you'll see that even college and university is becoming irrelevant due to the need of the new skill set for the 21st century. So if you don't embrace the idea that within every 1 to 2 years you must upgrade or change your skill set. In fact, the millennials, the Gen Z, and now the next gen, and the millennials is from 1981 to 1980 to 1995, and the Gen Zs are 1996 to 2010, and 2010 to I guess maybe 225 or whatever is the generation next or alpha generation. Now we're beginning into this year into the beta generation.
Right.
And believe it or not, we have about 6 of these done. I am of the boomers too. I'm of that part that went from 1960 to 1979. And then you still have boomers that are older than me that's still available. But this is the problem we have. We have the boomers governing over the boomers too, who are looking to replace them, but they still, when I say, and I'm not talking about government now, when we just talking about not just the 39 MPs, we're talking about from PSS and all these people in senior positions,
right.
Cumulatively they are one hive mind. And people ask all the time, it's like, why you don't go to parliament? I says, because the hive will consume me. You know, and so unless you can see a leadership where you see the potential to allow you to grow and express yourself, that's why it's never been my desire to offer. If you see me offer myself for leadership in the House of Assembly, follow that leader. Okay?
Yeah.
Because I'm not gonna, see, because my wife and I, which is we talked to you about, is that we have worked on a tokenization platform. People have heard me talk about this for 10 years. This is not cryptocurrency. Cryptocurrency is the greater fool theory. Listen to me carefully. Crypto is not cryptocurrency. The greater fool theory is I sell marbles to you, and I convince you to sell them to somebody else, another sucker, and they convince other people, and we all sit around and the marbles will go up based on demand. So what I do is I control how much marbles in the market to make a scarcity type environment, and everybody wants to pay because you got to have this marble. Whereas if you look at tokenization is real world assets. You have to tokenize real estate, a car, an airplane, a building, land, these type of things. You tokenize real estate. Today, when I started talking about tokenization, it didn't exist. About 2 years ago, it had a value of about $1 to $2 billion. Today, it has a value of about 50 to 60 billion. Now, all right, everybody, I want you to grab this. Today, tokenization is worth 60 billion globally. In 2030, tokenization will have a capital value of $16 trillion or more. And if you go to all of the major advisory companies and McKinsey Group and BCG Boston Group and all these other different things, they will tell you anything in the world that can be tokenized will be tokenized by 2030. And so this then brings us an opportunity because we have the DARE bill, which was originally introduced by the Free National Movement. And we've been waiting for people to bring firewood and flame to build a fireplace so we could warm ourselves. And we have our own firewood. We have our own flame. And that's the intellectual capacity of the new generation of thinkers that just basically have never been given an opportunity to express. No one has even shown them the spark within them. And so let's talk about Grand Bahama quickly.
Right.
We talk about the hotel. Ladies and gentlemen, the hotel is not going to be sold by the next election or whatever. The airport is not going to be built. Why? There's a balancing act that's required. For a hotel, for an airport, and you could go and Google this. Go ask ChatGPT, Claude, Bard, Grox, or whatever. What is the volume of capacity of individuals that must pass through an airport to sustain a $150 million investment? And at minimum, they'll tell you is 15,000 people per week at our current taxation level must pass through that airport for the airport to break even. 15,000 per week. The question is, let's pair them up. 8,000 couples is coming here every single week. And that's only I'm pretending they stay for the whole week. Right. It becomes even higher capacity if they stay every day. But I'm saying to you, we need 8,000 rooms. If you give each couple a room, do we have 8,000 rooms? Okay. If we open the hotel, will 8,000 rooms be built? So what do you do? Invite them to sleep with the other behemoths on the beach and in the abandoned houses that we would you have an exotic tour or something?
That's what I'm saying. No, but see, it's so true because I see this is a very important conversation for me because I feel like we live in a culture where we overpromise and we underdeliver, and it has happened so much times. Bahamians have normalized it.
Yes.
So now it's normal.
We have normalized mediocrity.
Yes. This is something that people hear me say literally every single day. We have normalized mediocrity because we are used to nothing. So when they give nothing, we're okay with that.
Yes.
So the smallest, tiniest thing that they do, if they bring an investor here, and even before I said that, we were talking about Singapore and different places like Dubai. When you go to do business in Dubai, there has to be a resident or a citizen attached to that business in order for you to do business there.
Right.
In the Bahamas, we push a different culture. We encourage companies to come here, and all we say is, hey, listen, give them a couple entry-level positions, and man, they can be happy. But so when we have already normalized a culture of mediocrity, and we have normalized a culture of we're just used to nothing, how do we begin to shift the mindset of people to understand that beyond the limitation caps that were placed on our heads, how do we now get them to see that, hey, you are bigger than an entry-level position job. You're bigger than your MP coming around once a year to give you a $50 voucher. You're richer than standing on the social services line. You're more valuable than $100 in a t-shirt. How do we begin to just bridge that gap, that mindset shift? How do we start to cross that bridge? Because I feel like if we have the same mindset, we would be talking about we would be on these same topics. If we come back to the show in 10 years, we'll be talking about the same thing.
My wife, Eden married former Gator, Nate Gator Johnson. She made that challenge to me right after Dorian.
Right.
She had started a business called Sound Dollar Communications, and then Dorian came and changed the dynamics. And if you go to buybillborrow.com or look for them on social media, okay, you'll see her first video to me where she challenged me and says, you've been trying for 15 years to drag these people. I am now your wife. Build it for me. And we went and we've talked to different people, and we went all about trying to get funding. Nobody understood it. There's some people, I'm not going to say right now, but some people try to copy what I marketed to them. And they were successful in creating the nuggets only to find out that I hadn't given the recipe for the sauce. And it was the sauce that made the chicken, that gave it the taste. But what happens now is that we created a platform, as we spoke about, that allows us to fund Bahamians who want to enter into any business environment, more so hospitality, tourism, and the support services. We can provide 99% funding.
So, see, Alan, I am super happy you brought that up. And I just want to put a point right there because I want you to expound on that and then what I'm about to say now. Let's just bring up, okay, again, over-promising, under-delivering. I'll give you an example of that and I'll tell you how it ties in, right? When we experienced the last by-election, we saw where the PFP government campaigned and did everything in their power to get the seat, right?
$400 million worth of promises.
And see, and that's what I'm about to get to. So we saw where they got up on these stages with huge talks. They promised a new defense force base. They promised affordable housing. They promised a new hotel in Boodle Bay. They promised a new police station. They promised a new school. They promised a sea wall.
Was it the ambulatory center?
Okay, they promised a myriad of billions in investment, and they promised it in a 3-year period. Up to today.
Pause. The Prime Minister said, if I don't keep these promises, right, I won't come back to you.
Wow.
Now, that's on tape. Now, and we have to take the Prime Minister Davis at his word. He says, if I don't fulfill these promises, the seawall, the government dock, the police station, the defense force base, the ambulatory care, affordable housing, hotels down in that particular area, and a host of other different things. Not counting the fact that they will begin to repair the homes of those 4,000 to 5,000 individuals that have been waiting. He says on that stage, if I don't fulfill these promises, I won't come back to you. Now, I don't care if he was talking about West End or he was talking about the Bahamas.
Right.
Would you mislead me over here and tell me the truth on this side?
Wow.
You understand what I'm saying? See, so the word is promises become a comfort to a fool when it meets 2 requirements though. The first thing when the person makes the promise, you must ask them, does the person has the ability? The Prime Minister does have the ability to keep his promises. Right. The next question is, does they have the intent? See, if the person do not have the ability and the intent, but you don't know the intent until they fail to deliver. So what happens is, if the person possesses not the ability or the intent, they're calling you a fool. And time reveals one or both failures. Wow. So if they have the intent, and the ability, I'm saying to you, the Prime Minister has the ability. He's the Minister of Finance, the Treasury. He has the ability. My question now is, were your intent genuine?
So, see, Alan, so with that being said, right, you have the ability, right? And I feel like in certain cases, they show us every single day that the intent isn't there for the betterment of Bahamians, and I'll say specifically to Grand Bahama, and I'll bring up this example and I'll let you expand on it, right?
See, these guys are auditioning for parts. They are 5-year celebrities that we call MPs. And they say, I'm going to audition for the series, and the series is going to end in 5 years, and I'm going to re-audition to see if I get the part again. So, you know what I'm saying? The point of that is, they're not builders, they're actors.
That is the truth, because why I say that is, and I go back to the essential service part of it. We have experienced where we have seen the challenges of not having essential services. Here, example, the fire trucks. So while Grand Bahama needs new fire trucks, they give us the lipstick on the pig and they say, to shut us up, because they love to do damage control. They shut us up and they say, okay, we have released some funds to get a part for the fire truck. Now keep in mind, these fire trucks have been through Dorian.
Oh, yes.
These fire trucks have been through Dorian. They have been through all sorts of stuff. Fire trucks don't work, so you're going to get parts. Not a new fire truck.
The biggest scam.
And all one second.
Something like local government election happening today.
So, but even hold on, watch this. So you then say you're going to now, let's just give them a part to shut them up. Let's give them a part for the truck. They put the part in the truck could be not working again next week. But on the same hand, you spend $100,000 on your BMW, and then you all spend another $300,000 on 3 more BMWs for the embassy in Washington. So you all spend $400,000 on cars.
And a few $1 million on some houses.
And a few $1 million on travel.
No,
whole island here.
No, I forget the travel money. See, forget the $30 to $40 million worth of travel. I'm saying to you, they have done some $1 million renovations in Washington. And then the people say that it's empty.
Wow.
The building is empty, and they says we need something better for us now.
Wow.
See, this is where we have to watch. So what happens is that again, let me say this. When it comes to Freeport, I blame the Grand Bahama Port Authority and its leadership, who I think Ian Roll has been there for 16 years. And I say I blame them because at minimum, in the lack of doing, they should be in agitators. They should have possessed the testicular fortitude or varying audacity to engage Bahamian people and tell them what is preventing them from building Freeport.
Yes.
Because we are the government. See, they're talking to the wrong power of the government. Even though we went to record, we think our strength every 5 years. And it's the same thing with local government. They say they can raise capital. Raise capital for what? Because all of the money cannot be raised, but they said you could keep some of it. So if there's no growth principle, the way real municipal government works, it's a scam. Local government has as much power as my 8-year-old daughter. She can wear whatever she wants as long as I buy it. She can go wherever she wants as long as it's in the front yard. She can go to sleep whenever she wants as long as it's by 8. Wow. She can drink whatever she wants as long as it's water. See, the illusion of choices. See, so what I'm saying is that we have to stop pretending. It's like when I watch government, I watch my 2 daughters, and they're a little advanced than most. Believe it or not, my 8-year-old daughter is in the 8th grade. Wow. And my 5-year-old daughter is in the 4th grade. Wow. And my 1-year-old son will be in the 1st grade as soon as he can talk. So what happens is that I'm just saying to you, what proper prior preparation does is prevents piss poor performances. Wow. So what happens is, and I have to give credit to my wife, okay? So I bought the beauty, she bought the brain. She's beautiful too. But what happens is that we have to teach them this. I brought them in to say, the typical Bahamian don't know what they're lacking. They don't know the choices. So when we talk about this tokenization, where we need 8,000 bed and breakfast. According to a survey done in 2009 to 2011, it says that we need 14,500 bed and breakfast to be, rooms, keys, they call keys, not bed and breakfast, to be a viable hospitality and tourism destination. So that's gone up. So what happens then is, how do we get these 15,000 bed and breakfast or rooms, keys into the hands of Bahamians? Well, let's use a quick analogy. If I were to give you a fourplex right now, and you go into the short-term vacation rental, put it that you're renting that for $1,500, right? Your net, because you got a house, a car, and everything. $1,500 a week times 4 is $6,000 times 52 is $312,000. Okay, you're making $312,000 a year, and I lend you, let's say, $1.5 million because you want a better class of hotel, you want to build so you could have lower energy costs, everything. So, or even let's use 10 million, let's use 1 million for comfort, just for the example. We could do adjustment, but you're making 312, right? Let's go with the 1.5 million because we're going to put it the EV car in the front of it and everything. So now you're making $312,000 a year, but your payments on that 1.5 million is $15,000 per month. So you're paying $180,000, but you're carrying $312,000 plus additional services and things that you offer because you'll go into the short-term vacation rental. The problem we have is we keep saying the banks won't lend us the money. Well, the banks doesn't exist in the global marketplace, and fintech has torn down the banks, and the banks we have in the Bahamas now is the imaginary wall that the Prime Minister says he can remove. Just like the imaginary so-called conglomerates governing the food market and these other markets. So what we have to do is we have to get the education into the minds of individuals and begin to insert all these 30 economies. We could get 1,000 people in each one. We get the Grand Bahama Port Authority to gather some testicular fortitude and rare audacity to stand with the Bahamian people in Freeport and the licensees, right, to lay a part out, including the deficiencies that stops them from executing what it is. You have the obligation to develop Freeport. Tell me, I'm the government, right, tell me what is it you need? Right. Not privately, not my employees. Yep. Tell me the people what we need. I am one of the individuals that knows that what you have is you have these symbiotic twins here in the Bahamas, again like the thing, or Siamese twins, and they are both trying to drown the other one, yep, knowing that both of them depends on each other for sustenance. Yep. And this is why the whole fight about the money came up, because supposedly Grand Bahama was happening. Let's ask the question. If we had to build 1,000 of those fourplexes to bring 4,000 keys into the market, what is 1,000 times $1 million or 1.5 million? That's 1.5 billion of active construction in the Freeport marketplace right now, just trying to build 4,000 of the 16,000 rooms we need. Now, here's what happens now. We need support services, because you bring 15,000 people a week here, or even 8,000 people. They need things to do. They need restaurants. They need entertainment. They need experiences. But the same fintech and tokenization and other different aspects allows you now, and when my wife and I come up with the platform, we come into Western with you. That's why I spoke to you, because I want those fishermen to go out. We'll arrange for you to get the financing, but I don't want you. Let's say I get you a $500,000 boat, right? I don't want you to pay your $5,000 a month in cash. I want you to pay me in fish. Because I'm going to start an export business. I'm just saying, so, but that's for me. But I'm saying to you is the money's there. Right. How many fishermen, if I was to tell them, I will give you $500,000 to buy everything you need to go for your boat, and you need to bring me $5,000 worth of seafood every month? It's a deal. I do. That's what fintech allows us to do. And so the problem is they don't speak the language that is necessary to educate people. And this is what the platform my wife and I has worked on, and when we launch, we'll come back and pay for a show so we can talk about how do we get people into this marketplace where they have to develop their ideas. There's only 3 questions they have to answer. Is the asset that you're seeking financing on equal to or greater than what you're getting? Wow. Second question, is the income being generated equal to or greater than the finance, the mortgage payment or the investment payment and the cost to run it? Third question, do you have an exit strategy for the loan or for the investor? Here's the difference between two. The loan requires you to start paying $15,000 a month. But if you need $1 million and I can convince 1,000 people to give you 1,000, or 100 people to give you 10,000, or 200 people to give you $5,000 because they think this is a good business plan, guess what? There is no payments on an investor. They're looking for you to build value. Right. So instead of running the pimp game, because loans is a pimp game, the guy that gives you the loan makes you his prostitute, and he's your pimp. So what you want is the investor that invests into this thing. Now, I just said to you, how do you make the $312,000 a year? You have a fourplex, right? Or the sixplex. How many people a week do you need to generate the $312,000 a year? 6 people per week. So they're talking with these millions of people, and I say to you, Sandra, if you're standing in front of me, just find your 6. Forget the 700,000 and a million people. Just find your 6 to stay in your sixplex and pay you your $1,500 a week, so you could make $180,000 just taking care of your place. And it's that simple. The key now is to have an understanding. My daughters didn't learn on their own. They were taught. But you can't teach what you don't know. If you squeeze orange, what you'll get now? If you squeeze an orange now, what will come out of it? Orange juice. So if you're getting, I see I almost said a word, this Christian thing, if you're getting garbage from them, you know that's what they have in there. Because when they're being squeezed to put the pressure to produce, they can only give you what's within them. And let me just say this, I didn't say this. I challenge this government, and I'll give credit that I am talking to the other incoming government in my mind, and they're challenging me with their advisors to say, you know, Seattle, you've been talking crap for all these years. Get your people that you say you know, and call me out to saying I can't do it.
Wow. Well, see, Alan, it has been an incredible conversation today. I hope that it isn't the last. I hope that we can have a part 2. I thank you so much for coming by today. Dove Nation, we appreciate you. We appreciate our listeners. Thank you so much for tuning in. Yes, we will see you again next week, same time, same place, as we make it make sense. Thank you.